Now to another story we're tracking here on Your Story. The marriage of an 11-year-old girl to a 41-year-old man has sparked a massive uproar in Malaysia. The wedding has reignited a debate around underage marriage in a country where there have reportedly been thousands of recent such cases. The girl's Thai parents, who work on a rubber plantation, said that they consented for her to become the third wife of a wealthy Malaysian trader, so long as she could remain at their home until she was 16. The Malaysian government confirmed the incident but said that there were no records in the courts or the regional religious office that permitted this marriage. And joining me live from Petaling Jaya in Malaysia is Ivy Josiah. She's a women's rights activist and a former director of Women's Aid Organization. Ivy Josiah, thank you so much for joining us on Your Story on WION. Now, what's the minimum age for Muslims and non-Muslims to get married in Malaysia? I mean, there are lots of calls for raising the minimum age to 18. So tell our viewers what the situation is like in Malaysia today.
Yeah, for non-Muslims, you should only be able to get married when you're 18. But there is a loophole between the ages of 16 to 17. You can get permission. If you're a non-Muslim, you need to go to the chief minister and you can get permission. Now, unfortunately, for Muslims, you could be below 16 and you can get married as long as you get permission from the Sharia court. So as long as you reach puberty, that means you could be 9 years old or 10 years old, you can go to the Sharia court and get permission. So there is this loophole for Muslims, for Muslim girls, and for non-Muslims, it's between 16 and 17. And as you well know, anyone below the age of 18 is a child.
And how does Malaysia compare to the other Muslim majority countries?
Well, I'm not completely aware about the statistics in other countries, but I do know that in many Muslim majority countries, in some Muslim majority countries like Morocco and Tunisia, it is banned, right? So it differs from country to country. And that is why Malaysian women's rights activists are saying that if we can, if in another Muslim country you're not allowed, why aren't we doing the same thing here? We all need to just come together and agree that children should not get married and not get upset or concerned that this is against Islam, because we have done our homework and we do know that Islam doesn't permit injustice.
And we've heard from several quarters in the last many hours on this issue. The Malaysian Deputy Prime Minister has called it unlawful. The UNICEF calls it shocking and unacceptable. Now, if I were to ask you, how have the ordinary Malaysian people reacted to this issue back home?
That is a good question. I mean, if we go through social media, of course, there's been a complete outrage. And, mind you, I've been doing this work for so long. So every 1 or 2 years, we do get this kind of reports and everybody, reacts in great shock. But right now, there are a whole lot of adjectives here, but where is the action? So women's rights activists have been calling for a change in the law to just basically have the political will to say we're going to ban marriages, child marriages. So generally, there seems to be quite a number of people who are against it. But we also know that there's a kind of quietness among Muslims because they feel that perhaps this is against the religion, that we should allow for a man to marry a child, for a Muslim man to marry a child, and for a man not only just to marry a child, but able to take the second or third wife. So there are many, many layers here, because you must remember this child became his third wife. He did it without permission from his first and second wife. He went to Thailand and got married there without the permission of the Sharia court. So even if we were to follow all the different laws, the basic understanding has to be that this has to be stopped. Even if you follow the law, you go to the Sharia court must be able to say, sorry, we can't give you permission. We need to have this huge political change. We need to have this mindset change. And I believe that with new Malaysia, as you well know, that we have a change of government, that this could be possible, because there seems to be more of a political will now to say we must do something about it. We cannot be getting outraged every 2 years.
In conclusion, Ivy Josiah, now one report says 16,000 girls under the age of 15 have married in recent years. The government has proposed a law on sex crimes against children, but has not criminalized child marriage yet. So what's the way forward in terms of legislation?
In terms of legislation, obviously they need to review why is it that we have a law against sex crimes against children, and at the same time we are permitting children to get married. There's got to be an honest review. People have to come to the table, and more than anything else, we need to educate the public. We need to educate parents. We need to tackle poverty. We need to bring education to the girls. This is not a single reform. It cannot be just only on the law. The law can be a start, but at the same time there has to be an education. There has to be a huge public awareness, especially getting parents on board, and eradicating poverty. This is not. It's not about Islam. It's not about any religion. It's also about eradicating poverty.
Indeed. On that note, Ivy Josiah in Petaling, Malaysia, thank you so much for joining me on Your Story. Appreciate it.